Hello everyone, and welcome to my fourth lesson on sequences. Well done on your work completed last lesson on the nth term, and I'm just going to start with a recap of what you learned last lesson. So we have this sequence 3n plus 2, and I'm going to ask you to find the first term. So what we do when we're finding the first term is we put n equals 1, that's what that means, n equals 1 into my rule. So the 3 stays the same, the n changes, and I add 2. So 3 times n is 1 plus 2. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So my first term is 5. Right, second term, the 3 stays where it is in 3n, my n changes to 2, and my 2 stays the same. 6 plus 2, 8. Next, my third term, so n is 3, so 3 stays the same, n changes to 3 plus my 2. 9 plus 2, 11. So my sequence becomes 5, 8, 11. And this carries on. And you can see we're adding 3 each time. Right, to find the 10th term, remember my rule is 3n add 2. So this time n is 10. So 3 times 10 plus 2. So my answer is 32. So that's what we did last lesson on using the nth term. And all these sequences were going up. What we're looking at today is sequences that still increase as they go up, but we're going to look at n squared sequences. Before we do that, I'd like you just to try this one, just to recap from last lesson. Pause the video and then I'll go through the answers. Okay, so n is 1, the answer is 3. n is 2, answer is 7. n is 3, 15 minus 2. 15 minus 2 is 13. I can see this is going up. Sorry, 5 times 2 is 10 minus 2 is 8. I can see this is going up in 5s. So my sequence is 3, 8, 13, and my sequence is going up in 5s. If you notice the sequence isn't going up the same amount each time, there's probably a mistake like I made here. Right, the 10th term, remember this is the rule, 5 times n minus 2. So that's 5 times 10 minus 2, 50 minus 2, or 48. So you see here that the 5 and the 2 do not change all the way down. The 5 stays there. The 2 does not change, it's always 2. Okay, the only thing that's changing is my n. And you can see that my n, if I just get a different colour pen, okay, the n here is just changing 1, 2, 3, 10, depending on what term you're looking at. Right, that is difficult, and well done for all the work you've done on that so far. Right, so let's look at an n squared sequence. So let's look at what the first term would be. So n squared, n is 1. Now what does n squared mean? Well, n squared means n times n. So if n is 1, I've got 1 squared, or 1 times 1. Okay, if n is 2, I've got 2 times 2, 2 squared, which is 4. I think you can see the pattern now. When n is 3, I've got n times n, or 3 squared, which is 9. So my sequence are the square numbers, which we've done before. 1, 4, 9, 3 squared, 16, 25, carry on like that. So the 10th term, remember my sequence is n squared, which means n times n. So when n is 10, 10 squared is 10 times 10, or 100. So the 10th term is 100. So let's look at another squared sequence. Let's look at this one here. N squared plus 4. So we do exactly the same thing. N is 1. So I've got 1 square, which is 1, plus 4. So I get 5. When n is 2, I'll have 2 squared plus 4. The 4 is staying the same, the n is changing. 2 squared is 4, add 4 is 8. Okay, when n is 3, I'll have 3 squared plus 4. 3 squared is 9, plus 4 is 13. So my sequence is this. This time it's not going up an even amount because the n squared term is not an arithmetic sequence. So the 10th term, if I just write down my sequence again, n times n plus 4, i.e. n squared plus 4. When n is 10, I've got 10 squared, which is 100, add 4, 104. Okay, so that's the sequence n squared, add 4. Okay, so well done. It is getting difficult. I'm very impressed with how you're working. Right, so I'm going to ask you to have a go at an n squared sequence. Can you just try, before we go on to this last one here, can you try this please? Try n squared plus 2. Can you please find the first term? You can start doing it. Second term, third term, and the 10th term. So pause the video, have a go at doing that please, and I'll go through the answers in a moment. Okay, well done. So the first term, n is 1, so I've got 1 squared, add 2, so I've got 1, add 2 is 3. N is 2, I've got 2 squared, add 2, 4, add 2 is 6. N is 3, 3 squared, add 2, 9, add 2, 11. N is 10, 10 squared, add 2 equals 102. Okay, well done. Right, the last question that I'm going to go through before I give you your work. You might have a sequence like this. Now, what does that sign mean? Well, that sign means n divided by 10. So the first term is 1. So we've got 1 divided by 10. The 10 will stay the same, the n is changing. I could write that as a decimal or as a fraction. Okay, when n is 2, n changes to 2. I've got 2 over 10, which is 2/10. When n is 3, I've got 3 over 10, or 0.3. So you can see my sequence is going 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. You can see the next one would be 0.4, 0.5. And the 10th term, well, n is 10, would be 10 over 10, which is just 1. Okay, so that was where I'm dividing. Right, so your turn. I'm not giving you too many questions, don't worry. Okay, it's a lot to take in. You may need to watch this video again before you attempt the questions, just to reinforce. Make sure you've written the notes into your book from the video, and that will really support you in your learning and also looking back to understand the work. So, I would like everyone, please, to turn to page 5 in your Chapter 9 booklet. It's exercise 9B, and everyone to have a go at question 1, please, A to J. Write your answers in your booklet and email them to me when you're completed. Try and get them on the day that they're set. It's easier for you if you do it that way and you just get it out of the way and tick it off your list of things to do. If you would like to have a go at the challenge, that's on page 6, questions 2 to 9. Again, email me those. You get an extra achievement point for doing the challenge. Okay, thank you for listening, guys. Have a lovely day. I've enjoyed teaching you all, even though it is remotely. I do miss you, and I can't wait to get back into the classroom.